So that's the big question that people are looking to get answered right now, because the city has said people have to vacate this block on Rucker Avenue by noon, but they haven't really given an option of where these people should go. There are more than 100 people estimated that are sleeping on this lot right now. What we do know is that if they do not leave by noon, the property owner could face fines and or legal action by the city. So people have been camping here since Sunday, and it should be noted that several of the people who are on this lot were camping at a lot nearby the courthouse on public property, but they were asked to leave. That area was actually shut down by Snohomish County. Robert Smiley, he runs the Hand Up Project. He has rented the land here for a month and was looking to push resources, other nonprofits into this camp to help people get some help and assistance. But what's happened is neighbors in the area, they were frankly surprised to see the camp show up. They have cited safety concerns themselves and are now saying the camp needs to go.
It's opened back up from the coronavirus, and now look at it. I mean, going from coronavirus to this stuff, it's not fair for us. It's not for the community.
I would rather I didn't have to do something like this. If they offer us a place to go with this encampment, let's go. There are better suited places that aren't around the neighborhood, but I had nowhere.
So there is the question that if not here, then where? Some volunteers are worried that people are going to scatter and won't have the resources available to them. And they argue that all of this has gone against the CDC guidelines, which say homeless camps should not be disturbed to prevent the spread of coronavirus. Now, again, the city said they are looking at options for what can happen with this campsite, but they haven't put that information out publicly. As you just heard from the organizer, if they are given a spot to move to, they'll happily move. But that's something we'll keep looking into as this noon deadline approaches to clear out this block. Live in Everett, Callie Greenberg, King 5 News.